Hey, good morning, good afternoon. She says, welcome to the True That Show. It's so exciting. Today we're going to be blessed by a gentleman that I've had an opportunity to meet through this beautiful world of social, and his name is Peter Lount. Caroline, I know that you guys have had a chance to chat and talk, and we've all kind of talked about the subject that he's going to kind of bring forward today. I'm going to talk about the truth around some issues with money. So it's a great topic. It's a hot topic, right? Don't they say that there's two topics that they'll put into a movie that create the most friction that you should never talk about when you're on your first couple of dates? Never talk about. One of them is politics and the other one is money. So Peter's going to come rattle the cage today. But having a conversation with him, I got to tell you. So this is what I thought we could talk about. So in hearing his story, which was so inspiring, one of the things that really caught my attention was it wasn't them, it was me. And I was like, ooh. Ooh. I mean, I'm like, well, I don't know if I've ever had that. I don't know if I've ever had that, day of epiphany. But Caroline, I know you have. I mean, I'm sure you have.
With that if you want.
You want to tell me?
It wasn't them, it was you.
Oh. Well, here's what we could do. I could tell our listeners a story that was you, and then you could. No, I don't think so. I think maybe we should just share one. Did that ever happen to you, like ever in your gorgeous, little years on the planet? Did you ever have a time where it was maybe you, not them? Maybe like this much?
Oh gosh, Deb, I married twice. So I think I have tons of those stories.
You want to share one? Would you like to share one?
Oh, there's so many to pick from, but what I can say is that getting older, I'm gaining some maturity. And imagine when I'll be where you are, it's going to be like it's going to sheer wisdom. But for now, for now,
I went over my head. I don't know who you're talking to.
Okay, so no, I would say that in my younger years, quite often it was them and not me. And I think that as you get more mature, you start taking responsibility of your actions. Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. I've matured.
Well, I thank you. I never, took that concept to play. But you know what makes me think, now, not that it's happened to anyone here, I'm sure, but you see these scenes in movies like where Harry met Sally or whatever, right? And it's like the breakup scene, the traditional breakup scene. It's like, no. It's not you, it's me. And it's supposed to make that person feel better. But for some reason it doesn't, it doesn't. You're like, oh, it's kind of like when you take responsibility after you've done something that you're like, oh, not my finest moment, right? And so I do agree with you. I do feel that as we get wiser, and one day you will catch up to me, by the way, because I'm not aging. In case you didn't know, I'm here and you're like, and you may surpass me, but outside of that, it reminds me of when I had this epiphany. And, oh, look at her. She's just dying to get in there. What do you want to say?
Dreaming is good. It's positive for your mind. So keep going.
Keep going. Okay. So it reminds me of when it became noticeable to me. I think that's what it is. When you decide to kind of open up and step out of your own box, and you can self-observe. I always say to people that I share about or coach with or we work with that when you can actually step outside of yourself and look at yourself, that moment of self-observation, and you can do it more than once in your life, you're going to go further, right? And so I realized that, sometimes I do, a lot of hours in a day. And there was a time where I was building my business and was very busy, and I would come home, and it was the moment I had before I opened the door, and I had 2 young children. And you come in, if you don't kind of take that moment, it's like why some people like to drive home alone and digest. But you know what, before I turned the handle and I came in, and I could instantly gauge where I was at, and I was like, and they're doing what they're doing, right? They're doing what they're doing. And I automatically go like, can you stop making the noise, or can you that? And it was like, there's some days, there was some days, not all days, right? Because, I have some, some personal development. I walk in and I go, hey, you know what? I'm kind of like this today, just owning, like, I'm kind of tired today. So I may not be in the best mood, or saying that to my partner at the time, right? Like, I'm kind of like this. And that's when I started to come in from work and go in and have a bath, come in and have a bath. And honestly, my kids used to sit on the toilet and talk to me and tell me about their day. And it was so much more reasonable, so much more reasonable when I was in a hot aromatherapy bath and I could decompress. But knowing myself and know to apologize. I'm like, look, I'm just going to apologize now. I'd say that I'm going to apologize now. I'm tired. I'm kind of cranky. I need some food. I need something. So, owning yourself. I think self-observation is the point that I'm dancing around. So anyways, we didn't come here to listen about me. So what? No, Caroline's like, no. So why don't I introduce Peter and have him here come in and save us from this conversation. So Peter, welcome to the True That Show. And I think I just wanted people to kind of hear what I've been able to hear and what Caroline's been able to hear, because you've got such a great story. I think one that everyone can relate to. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for you both for having me today. So what I do in my day job is I'm an infinite banking practitioner for Senate Financial, and I also am the host of the Cashflow Canucks podcast. A little bit about, you want me to go into my history? So how I even got here?
Yeah. How did you go from there to here? Because it's a True That Show.
So my truth is really just living life the right way, right? I went to, just kind of go back to like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I go back to things that he talks about. It's like, I went by the formula, go to school, get a job, have a nice family, retire, all that. But, I did that. I went to school, didn't really know what I was going to take in school. I just knew I needed to get a job. So I got school done. And I think, to Caroline's point, I don't think I read a book after I went to school, right? I got a job. I was working at a corporation for 14 years. And I was kind of always like, I did well, never, never that close to getting fired, but I did just enough to make sure, right? I was just kind of doing the right thing. And I was like, okay, I got to get out. And I always wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but just didn't have it in me. It was always something sticking. I'm like, okay, it's not the right time. So then I went to another big corporation, another corporation. I did 4 of these. And the last one I went to for 4 months. And the boss is like, what's going on? I said, I don't know, but there's something in me that's just like, I'm stuck. I can't do this anymore. And, once I did that, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Leaving that biweekly paycheck behind just like took the chains off me. I felt like I was, I didn't realize how much under control I was in terms of my mind, and in terms of there's so many things. And then after that, I really it opened my mind. I had space in my head to start read. Like, the bookshelf behind me is kind of a testament to that, right? I was still working in IT at the time, but a very boutique shop, great boss and, owner kind of just let us kind of run our own shop like an entrepreneur, right? Which was my first taste into it. And since then I've been reading and listening to podcasts, hours and hours of podcasts, kind of catching up on it. And, if I couldn't have told you then, but I tell you now, as I connect those dots, was really, realizing that I was really the biggest obstacle to anything that I sought there. And that was the hardest lesson to learn. Like, I had wife, 2 kids, doing all the right things. It still just wasn't, didn't feel right. And, there was some stuff going on with family and all that too, that I think that just really, I look back that, it wasn't any of those other people, wasn't the job, wasn't my family, wasn't any of those things. It was me that was the biggest obstacle to any of those things. And sorry, the next part of that was, through that process, I found infinite banking concept. And that's what I practiced as a client. I was looking for ways of something to do with the solution. I didn't realize until I finally found it. And that was through my curiosity. I was really seeking a lot of knowledge, found infinite banking. And again, I was like, okay, I'll do this, but still kind of had myself stuck until I found personal development. Really, that really kind of turned everything around. And then I just like dove deep into that. Before, it was just like real estate and investing and all that. But then once I got to personal development, it just opened up a whole nother world of something that I just kind of said, no, it's not for me. I'm okay.
Right.
And before I let you plunge into, explaining a bit more about some concepts that you're describing there, because I find them so interesting and some of them are new to us, I want to come back to one thing that you were talking about, self-development. And for those of you who didn't hear the pre-talk, is I was telling Peter, we both did our bachelor, and then you go through university and they give you books and books and books and books to read, and books almost become your not enemy, but books become chores, become work. It's you don't view books as something to develop yourself, and then you get into the real world and you start working. And what I heard from what you said, Peter, is that a lot of what was happening was going on right between the 2 years, and you really work through that with self-development. So I want you to dig a bit deeper into what did self-development really do for you? Like, what was how did it work as a diving board for you?
Yeah, I think it really, as I was really hungry to learn more, just really gave me better understanding myself, understanding, my family, understanding, the system that I worked within, like all my friends in the corporate world, and all these things are just like, it's connected so many dots for me that I didn't see. I literally didn't see. I was just kind of, they talk about the Matrix. I never watched the Matrix. We talk about the red pill and the blue pill, whatever, but I think I was literally in that world of just like going through the motions. And it's kind of opened me up and realizing that you really can feed your mind. If you feed your mind all the right things, that how empowering that can be. Things like that I've cut out, or like, I don't watch the news. I had someone who I interviewed a few weeks ago, and he goes, it's like watching a horror show right before you go to bed, right? Like, there's so much things that you can't. So I'm very conscious of what I feed my brain in terms of, no matter what comes into it, there's only so much you can filter out. So I might as well put a whole lot of goodness in there. And it's definitely had an impact over time. And I think it's a bit of a compound effect, right? It's not just, you can't just go and read a book and then you're done. It's always kind of diving into it and seeking more knowledge and more understanding.
Well, I love what I heard at some point, from one of my mentors, Jeff Olson said. He said motivation and getting better in your self-development is a bit like the gym. It's not something that you will do and read a few books or get motivated and then be like, I'm good. It's like you don't go to the gym and be like, okay, worked out for 3 months in shape, I'm good now. And you stop. It's something that, and I loved how you said that for the last 3-4 years, you're reading one book a week. So I do imagine that at first it took discipline, and now it's something you want because you're seeing the positive effects. But I'm totally with you on that. Like, that self-development is crucial, and I will let Deb dig a bit more into the other part of what you do.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's, something that we can all say, that we have come to where we've come to by having those pinnacle moments, and whether they're through books or podcasts or, people listening to music or whatever it is that promotes or provokes the desire to kind of dig deeper in ourselves. But, one of the things that I'm really excited to learn from you, because we've had a little bit of chat about that. And let's face it, money is a big topic. I actually have like books right now in my office, and that one's about money. That one's about money. That one's about Janis Joplin. Okay, she's cool. That one's about sales. That one's about, that one's about health. And then I got an iPad that I haven't opened yet. You know what I mean? I've got these things in my office, and I think that we do read them. I also think that money can be an interesting topic, because for some people it can bring up all sorts of things. Like, really, like, it can bring up, I'm shortfalling because we're comparing ourselves to other people, or I want to make sure that I did better than the generation before, or now I feel more responsible to make sure that my kids are taken care of, all the way where generations before, they were happy if you had clothes and food and got you out the door. And we have all these things that going on, and a lot of times it's about not enough. And I think that people are afraid at a certain stage in their life. I mean, my mother was a credit manager, so she drove it in my head about money a lot. There was 2 different rules in our house, right? Go make it, and there isn't enough in the world. So that left an interesting complex for me, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, but you better make money and then you better go do something good with it. And I'm like, it's kind of hard to do that if you don't have that, right? It's very interesting. We all have it. We all have our own filter, I think, is the best. I'm really interested in this infinite banking concept because I love the word infinite, right? It gives me a feeling like it's going to go on, maybe, who knows, past me or something. So can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, I think just to your point about money, I think through my self-development, to Carolyn's point, is there is money paradigms, right? I think everybody has money paradigms wherever it is. And it's so ingrained in you, and it's ingrained in you generationally. And either you think, oh, in my family it was more about those people are well off, so that's just how it is, right? Or, it's always like you're not going to get ahead or get what you want. But through self-development, I found that. And through that is finding infinite banking. And there's so much, it's based on the theory of the book written by the late R. Nelson Nash called Become Your Own Banker, Unlock the Infinite Banking Concept. So infinite banking is really it's not about making big returns or get rich quick or anything like that. It's about the money that you have. It's growing wealth with the existing cash flow. There's so much money that we actually lose through that. Think of, where's your money go? Okay, maybe I'll ask Deb as you ask the question. So you get money, where does it go? When you get paid from your business, where's the first place it goes?
So it goes to my biggest bill, probably, which would be like, rent and mortgage, and I start divvying it out based on, like rent, mortgage, any financial places that I need to make sure I pay.
Credit cards, living expenses, all those pieces, right?
Yeah, all those things, yeah.
Right. And so even before that, it goes into someone else's bank. You don't own the bank, right? That it goes into, right? It goes to someone else's bank. You spend that money, and then you try to save with whatever's left over. So the theory behind, Nelson went through his studies, and he's like, if you look at all those expenses, whether or not you're, it's housing expenses, living expenses, because you have lines of credit cards, you have auto expenses, all those pieces, 34.5 cents of every after-tax dollar just goes to a volume of interest. So imagine that we're losing that much in volume of interest.
Say that statement again, because I think how much?
So almost 35% of your money after tax goes just to the banking system, just paying someone else for financing your money. The other part of the equation that we address in it is, so, okay, I don't have any debt. I'm fine. I'm going to save up money, right? I'm going to save up money for a car. You save up $50,000 for a car, right? Once you spend that money, where's that money gone? It's gone. Like, you've lost opportunity to earn interest on that money forever. So through infinite banking, we resolve the problem as banking as a problem. Banking becomes a solution because we become our own banker, and we use, And so that the biggest part of it is it really ties into what Carolyn talked about, self-development, is really having an open mind. We talk about the rival syndrome. There's so much stuff that we just do because we just don't think about, maybe their paradigms, whatever it is. But the idea behind this, and Nelson talks about in his book, is the rival syndrome is that I know everything there is to know. You can't teach me. Well, that's not an ideal client for me, right? I want to have people that are open-minded and want to learn, because 99% of it is living the process. The product is great. It's resilient. It's been around for, hundreds of years, but unless you know how to work the process and being willing to be coached, and same as with you as well, right? I'm sure you do that. It's continuous learning. You never stop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why, me and Caroline work so well. We work with a lot of people. One of our mandates is to take people from here to there, better life, better philosophy, servant leadership per se, right? You learn, you give, you learn, you give. But I'm really intrigued about what it is that you're saying, because it's kind of like a new money concept, right? It's something.
It's new and it's old. It's generationally old. If you look at families like the Rockefellers, you look at the Waltons, you look at Disney, all these families have done this generation. The rich have done it forever, and it's capturing their money in the system first. It's just like it's leveraging an asset and keeping it forever. Because when you spend cash, so think about this, when we talk about that car scenario, or even just any expense, once you spend that capital, once it's gone forever. But it's not just gone for you, it's gone for the rest of your life, it's gone for generations ahead. Some of these rich families, what they've been doing is they put it into assets. And this goes back to if you've ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad, his cash flow quadrant, he talks about this, right? Is the rich don't just spend cash, they put into assets first and have assets pay for those expenses.
So I have two questions for you here. One is a
Hmm.
surprise one. Um, because you talk about, those rich family, Walt Disney and blah, blah, and I, as a regular civilian, tell you, well, of course, it's easy because there was tons of money at the beginning and it's been pushed generations after generations. I came from a poor family, so how do you start now? Like in my generation, because I'm not Walt Disney, I don't have the base. So do you actually help people now with
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
not millions?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, um, yeah, I can give you, so I'll give you an example. So how about when's the best time to plant a tree, right? You look at that.
Always.
Yeah. Like it's always now, right? It's either, well, probably ideally 20 years ago, but you don't have 20 years. So you do it now. Right. And the opportunity cost of money that's leaving you is so valuable and it compounds over time. So yeah, absolutely. And, I think when I went into the process, I was looking at, living now, and foundationally it's helped my family, my business, because it works in households, it works with businesses, and it's preserving that capital within your family. It's going to keep growing. But ideally, what your question was like the amount. But if I look at it doesn't matter what you put away, but say you put away $10,000, whatever, right? If you look at that over the course of like 30 years, that's like 30, 40 years. If at 2%, that's $14,000 of lost dollars, right? So once you spend it, um, it's gone, right? So
So
it's all
basically,
about opportunity cost of your money.
you need to start doing it now if you want it to become multi-generation. No.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking multi-generational at the time, but it now has been, right? And now my parents are doing this with the grandkids. They're finding ways to pass down wealth to the grandkids. They didn't even think they could do that. They were trying to figure it their own selves, but now they see it too and have a good understanding, and now see a great way to pass on assets to their next generation tax free too.
Awesome. And now my other surprise question. How does it affect,
Oh, be careful, Peter. She does this to me sometimes. Go.
but I'm mean to you like I am to Deborah, apparently. Um, she's just very sensitive. How does it affect you in your everyday life with your wife and kids? Like how, because I know in couples, a big, discordance is money. So obviously, I'm thinking that you probably have the mentality of live under your means and save more. Like, tell me a bit about in your everyday life.
Yeah, so I think we talked about money paradigms. I think money is absolutely at the core of, it's probably the core of more divorces than you even can think of, right? And it becomes a taboo subject to many people. Yeah, it's a learning process. I think we look at the kids. I think they've got a lot of time ahead to learn. It's more, in our teaching, we go through this. You can find this on YouTube. It's called the backwards bicycle, and this guy. I'm not sure if you've seen the video or not, but he basically talks to. He's like I can't remember if he's like an engineer or whatever it is, but these guys give him a backwards bicycle, and so how once you learn how to ride a bike, you're done, right? You never have to learn again. The backwards bicycle is totally different. Like when you turn left, it turns right, and it's got these gyroscoping, kind of all these different things that you don't even think about, right? It took him, he was say in his 40s, it took him, I think it was 8 months to learn how to ride the backwards bicycle. You know how long it took a 7-year-old to learn how to ride it? I think it was like 10 days.
Ooh,
And so
ouch.
there's so much, the neuroplasticity of the kids is so good. So I teach my kids early. I think it's, they're getting the concept of it, right? We talk about it as a private family bank. We talk about it as a family bank. This is how we're building it. So it's teaching them concepts and learning how to, right? It's not about living below your means, but it's also, if you're willing to pay a bank, if you don't pay your mortgage, you don't pay your car, like you lose your car, you lose your house, right? So if you're not willing to pay back a bank, why would you not pay back your family? So we're putting money into our family bank. We borrow money from our family bank and we pay ourselves back. So I am definitely living below my means, but I think abundantly too, right? So it's not about like, I want live on less. It's like, no, I want more and I want to have more when I retire. I don't want to live off a pension when it's going to be, I'm going to have to live off 75% of what I made and the dollar's worth less and all those other things. It's all about growth.
I love how you changed my saying of like living under your means to a whole different positive saying of like, no, I want more. So I really need to make an appointment with you and my 19-year-old. When they're asking for an iPhone, I would like you to explain, does Apple need money or mama needs money?
That's true. You know what? Can I throw a little wrench here? And I know that I don't know if you've talked about it. I mean, we were talking earlier about something about Parkinson's Law, but we were also having that conversation about exactly that. I think that, is there times that you can go and treat yourself? And we were kind of joshing around a little bit because, me and Caroline are in the dream believers category as much as we are building yourself a successful business and all of that. And we teach and share with people that the more that you manifest and dream, you can have those things. And I happen to be in my office right now, and I've got these treasure maps, and I got these pictures, and I got to put a picture of a piano and all sorts of places that I want to go. And Peter, I want to know, like, so I've got this really beautiful picture here of this ring from Tiffany's. I want to go buy myself. Can I do that? Like, can I still do that?
Oh, you
Is
can
there a
do
way
that all day long.
all day long?
You capitalize your private family bank, right? You put money in your bank. You go buy that, because think about this. You save that money for that same ring. Once you spend it, it's gone. And I think I mentioned before, it's gone for you. It's gone for generations. If you put this in your system, your family bank first, you borrow from it, you pay for the ring, your money's still growing every single day, guaranteed. And that's like, it sounds too good to be true. And that's why we need to go through, we have to talk to people and give them a better understanding of it, because it's not for, the process that we teach. And that's why I love talking to entrepreneurs and investors, because they really have open minds of learning. It's constant learning, right? And that's what, and so the other thing you mentioned was Parkinson's Law. I think that maybe goes to what Carolyn had asked too, is Parkinson's Law is the idea of, if the teacher gives you homework and they give you 3 days to do it, you do the work on the third day. If they give you the same assignment for give you 30 days, you don't do it till the 30th day. That's the same thing we do with money, right? It doesn't matter where you work, whether or not you're paid like a wage, a salary, hourly wage, or you're a doctor or a lawyer. People just spend what they make. So the idea of this is really building a system that's going to continue to grow for you, but also be mindful of that too, right? Of the going below your means, but more so just creating a process where your money's going to grow forever and paying yourself back.
That's, I feel enlightened. It's interesting. I'm going to be, completely transparent, because this is a True That show. As you've talked, I've gone through different emotions. I'm like, okay, oh, I'm doing that. That's good. Ooh, I don't know. And I've gone through all of that. And I think, for people that are listening and not watching, you don't get to see Peter or see his demeanor, and you're a very comfortable person that I would to have that conversation with. But I don't know about Caroline. What about you? it's an interesting, what are we talking about, 20 minutes? And there's all sorts of things that have gone through my head where I feel like I'm, I could learn more, but maybe I'm doing okay. Or it's interesting. I'm just sharing that it's an interesting emotional conversation as well as intellectual, but leaves me feeling hopeful and wanting more. That's for sure. I think there's something that you have that I haven't learned yet. That's definite.
Yeah, me, it makes me, it's a bit like you. It does flow through the emotions. And I'm like, wow, all this party money, like how much would it be worth now, in my 20s? So, no, it's for me, what really hit the wall is what you spent is gone forever. And I am, I'm not a shopaholic or whatever, but I like to consume. And it's funny, it's not in clothes, it's not in jewelry, it's all in, you know, the better quality products in everything. But it's true as well that when it's gone, it's gone. So, you know, maybe toning down the, you know, I don't know when it's on special, let's just go for it and stack up for 2 years. You know, there's a different way definitely of managing your money.
Well, I think that's the part that makes me, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
But you did. No.
Okay.
I,
What we do.
I,
That's the part that I'm trying, that's the part I'm trying to capture in my head is I don't want to get into scarcity. So as I listen to Peter, I want my brain to go bigger. I don't want to give myself heck for wanting, right? Or even treating or deserving. Like it's the dance in the head between we live in an abundant state and that things come to us. And that's why someone like Peter would come to us. That's why people who's listening to Peter right now is listening to him, because he's part of the abundance, but not the scarcity. Does that,
but
do you know what I mean?
yeah, and I totally get what you mean, 100%, but abundance
Yeah.
also mean like going crazy. And you know, it does mean that you can attract abundance, but treat the abundance intelligently. And that's, I think this is
Thank you.
a money paradigm that we think, oh, when I'm rich, I will be able to buy whatever I want, whenever I want, blah, blah. And I know a lot of rich people and millionaires, and you know, they will have that big treat that they want, but the rest, they don't spend as much as we think. And they're not as crazy as we think. It's because, and that's why they're there. And that's how I grew up. Like, they're rich because they know how to treat their money. So I think that a big
Right.
part too is like it's how you're raised, and I think that now we have the opportunity to pass that on to the next generation of teaching. And I love what
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna listen more of his podcasts and everything because I really want to get myself in the headspace of not being scarcity, not also just like viewing everything as abundance and it's gonna come. You also have a responsibility in that to make it,
Yeah.
I assume, Peter, that would be
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Peter
you're
probably wants to interrupt us right now. He's
no,
like,
no,
oh,
you're right. I think it's a process, right? It's a lifestyle, and you know the wealthy have done it for generations, right? They have a
yeah,
process, they have a system, and you know they have some kind of family banking system that they use, right? And so absolutely, and you know this works for we talked about. It's not just rich. It's if you're trying to pay off debt and you're not getting ahead, but you know also look into the future. If you want passive income, if you want money to invest into while your money still grows, and then generationally. So it fits a lot of use cases. Absolutely, it's not just stuck to. It's just the wealthy have been doing it for generations. That you know the masses, we've been told, okay, put your money in RSPs and RESPs and all these things, which quite frankly they end up being you're planting a seed and the government's collecting the harvest. So imagine this, you have I'm kind of maybe going off track a little bit, but if you put money into any of these tools, imagine you put money into your RSP, you're saving like this much tax right now. The government knows they're going to get this much right when you retire. So all you're doing is you're feeding a system, and that's what the masses are told to do. But I can guarantee the wealthy are not necessarily doing that to get ahead.
right. Wow. Well, I feel enlightened and I feel intrigued. And Caroline, do you want to end off with a final question for Peter? Is there anything that you can think of, or Peter, is there anything that you want to share in terms of, you know, what this process has been like for you? Oh, you got a question?
Yeah, Peter, so like financial guru, what side of the bed do you sleep on?
Yeah, that's an obvious question.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you want the truth?
Yeah.
Okay.
True that. It's true
Right,
that.
right, right. Okay, so
Bogdan,
I have a wife, 2 kids, and we have a puppy. We got her in December. So um, I'm kind of on whatever side's open, basically, whatever's left. I don't know if it's a side or if it's literally the side. So
the
That's
bottom of
awesome.
the bed.
right.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. No, we're making a little social study, so we're gonna
Yeah.
with
Truthfully, that's what it is. It's like, and what bed? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's a good one too.
Well, thank you so much, because I, like Deb said, she feels enlightened, and I feel too, and I loved meeting also the person that you are. Beautiful voice, calm, and it just feels reassuring to listen to you talk about money, because not all of us are comfortable with that subject. So thank you. And Deb, like, I'll leave you to the last word because I know you like that.
Oh, right to the bitter end, Peter. Do you see? Peter's getting a live version of when we were talking about sarcasm versus mean. I got a tough skin. Okay, so thank you. I mean, I want to thank you so much, and I want you to be able to share with the listeners any last moments that you have, or anything that you know, people are probably sitting there going, how can I get a hold of them? What does that look like? You know, what's people's next step? They're listening to you that are kind of intrigued, happy, or a little scared or nervous. And if there's anything else that you want to share about your story, or kind of your journey to get here, or what are your goals? Like, Peter, what do you see for yourself in the future? You know, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on today, first of all. And
We can't hear you too well, Peter.
oh no.
Yeah, got to talk a little louder here.
All right. Well, I first of all, I want to thank you for having me on today.
I think we're having a technical difficulty. It has to happen sometimes, because otherwise, like, we would literally be perfect. And
yeah, I don't know. I can hear him a little bit. So maybe yell into the.
All right, I'll give it a go. See if this. Can you hear me any better? No.
You're gonna have to talk like you're talking to your neighbor.
All right. So I want to thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'm yelling into the microphone right now, but yeah, best place for people to reach me is at, they can email me at peter@cashflowcanucks.ca, or we can find me on the Ascendant Financial website, ascendantfinancial.ca, and just ask for Peter. It's really a learning process. So we really want to teach people how to embed this process into their life.
so sorry, I'm
So we're going to, so I could hear you. I know it must have felt like you were yelling, but we're going to have the information, obviously at the podcast.
Because in my head, I was thinking, like, his neighbors probably have his email address now, but we didn't get it.
But we can barely hear you.
Okay,
so
don't worry, we will post it. You will get a hold of Peter.
Yeah.
You can always contact us and ask us for his contact information. But I do know that he has a podcast as well called Cash Flow Canucks. See?
Cash Flow. Yeah.
You even got it right. So
yeah.
Thank you so much. And Deb, it's always beautiful to see you.
You too, Brent. You too, Soul Sister. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.